Expedition Everest is a Vekoma roller coaster that opened in 2006 at Disney's Animal Kingdom in Orlando, Florida. Located in the Asia section of the park, the man-made recreation of the Forbidden Mountain looms over the entire park. It opened as the most expensive roller coaster ever built, only being passed recently by coasters like Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot. The queue line is especially immersive, with an entire museum dedicated to the legend of the Yeti before you board your train up the mountain. There's, of course, a ton of theming during the ride itself, even with a giant animatronic of the Yeti towards the end of your ride, which sadly has not actually moved for most of the ride's lifetime. The trains themselves feature just your standard lap bar with no extra seatbelt, and some theming on the end of each train to make it look like an actual train carrying tea up the mountain. The mountain itself is just under 200 feet tall, and honestly looks a whole lot taller in person, with the actual track going up to about 112 feet. The ride features some of the most impressive stats of a coaster on Disney property, with a max drop of 80 feet, speed of 50 miles per hour, and a track length of 3,884 feet. Now that we got stats out of the way, let's see how it rides. The ride begins with a small lift hill, giving you a fantastic view of the mountain, and a waterfall just off the side of it. You then take a couple left-hand bank turns right into the ride's main lift hill through an ancient temple of sorts depicting the Yeti in a painting right above you. As you reach the top, you make a couple more turns to the left before screeching to a stop at a broken track piece that the Yeti has apparently ripped apart. You wait at this track section for a second, really just for the switch track behind you to flip into place before the track releases you backwards into the mountain. This is easily the most intense part of the ride, in the pitch black darkness, and even has an intense helix before coming to another stop inside the mountain. It really disorients you into thinking you are going upside down, but you never actually do. You can look up at this moment and see the shadow of the Yeti ripping up more train tracks as you wait for another switch track to flip into place in front of you. You finally move forward again and drop into the biggest drop of the ride that banks sharply to the left. You can really feel the intensity and speed during this section as you pop back into the mountain and dive back down, again picking up more speed and sending you into a pretty intense and lateral-filled helix just outside of the mountain. You finally go into the mountain one last time to have your close encounter with the actual Yeti, but it is actually just a statue with a bunch of strobe lights around it that tricks you into thinking it's actually moving. There's one final drop before hitting the final brakes just as you emerge outside. Overall, this is a really fun and well-themed coaster that is something for pretty much anyone. For a Disney coaster, it is pretty intense, but not so much to where a lot of people would be scared of riding it. It doesn't offer a ton in the airtime department, but I love the speed and laterals it does have once you really get going halfway through the ride. I do wish the giant Yeti animatronic still worked, but I do realize it would be almost impossible to fix it without basically redoing the entire mountain structure, and it would also cost a ton of money in the process. It's currently my third favorite Disney World coaster, only behind Guardians of Space Mountain, as those offer more in terms of airtime and overall intensity. It's also definitely one of the best rides at Animal Kingdom, and an absolute must-do when visiting the park, along with Flight of Passage and the Safari. It does get some decent wait times because of how good it is, but I would suggest a ride as early as possible, or utilize the single rider line, as that usually doesn't have too long of a wait. If those don't work, however, you can utilize the great queue line during your wait time. Be sure to subscribe for more content and be on the lookout for more coaster reviews and other theme park videos in the near future.